May 15th, 2000.
The signs were there.
When we look back on it, almost all of us go, well, maybe there's things that we should have noticed that we didn't.
The pipe bombs built from fireworks.
They said that they had left a crater in the ground that was around 4 feet deep and around like 8 feet wide almost.
The homebrewed napalm tested on mice.
Then he put some of the napalm on them and lit them on fire, and it stayed lit for a very long time.
The sudden fits of anger.
When he'd hit some mood swings, he'd really get, just that intense glare in his eyes. And just like look right at you and say, I'm gonna do it.
Tonight, Columbine, an exclusive look at the lives of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold from two of their closest friends.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Michelle McQueen.
The big question, of course, is why it happened. Why did two teenagers plan for over a year, building bombs, assembling an arsenal of guns, to kill and wound people they barely knew or could have chosen never to see again after graduation just a few weeks away? There is still no satisfactory answer to that question, but later in the broadcast tonight, two of Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris's close friends offer some clues about the mindset the two killers brought to their assault on Columbine High School a little over a year ago. They speak at length for the first time about things they saw, but unhappily chose to ignore. But if the why of it is still in question, today the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office gave its account about what happened. They released a lengthy minute-by-minute reconstruction of the rampage and their response to it. A judge ordered the release in response to lawsuits filed by many of the victims' families, who charged the Sheriff's Department with negligence in confronting the killing spree. But if there were hope that this report would put the questions about the law enforcement response to rest, it didn't, as ABC's John Miller reports.
And the school is in a pit, and I shouldn't. The table, kids. Heads under the table.
The sheriff's report contained teacher Patty Nielsen's frantic pleas from the Columbine Library, where so many would die. And the report officially confirmed that the shooting of innocent victims lasted only 16 minutes, killing 12 students, 1 teacher, and wounding more. The sheriff's report underscored that because the killing took only a few minutes, moving in sooner would not have prevented more shootings. Some victims' families took the opposite view. If the gunmen had taken their own lives within an hour, why did it take police 2.5 hours more to reach the dead and the dying?
Due to the impending civil suits that we are involved in at the Sheriff's Office, further interpretation or to elaborate on the details of the report will not be possible.
Smoke is coming. Smoke, I'm almost done inside the library door. So I don't think I'm going to go out.
According to the sheriff's report, here is the timeline. At 11:19 a.m., the shooting begins. Moments later, a deputy assigned to the school exchanges shots and radios the sheriff's office.
Okay, so we've got a barricaded gunman then?
Yeah, I think Deputy 1 is cornered. He was taking fire.
At 11:33 a.m., the SWAT team is ordered. The shooting has been going on for 14 minutes. By 11:39, 7 sheriff's deputies, led by a sergeant, are on the scene. None of them enter the school. Students and teachers report the gunmen were inside shooting and throwing bombs.
We need you to respond to that call out. We've got shots being fired Columbine High School, Columbine High School with grenades going off.
By 11:45, a sheriff's lieutenant takes command. The decision is made not to enter the school, to wait for the SWAT teams. 11:46, frustrated that their bombs did not explode, Harris and Klebold fire into the propane tanks, finally tossing a smaller firebomb. But the larger device still does not explode. 12:06, a full 49 minutes after the shooting began, the first SWAT team enters the school. A second team does not go in, instead attempting to rescue students pinned down on the outside of the building. While teachers and students are calling into 911 and reporting shots being fired, dispatchers tell them to wait inside, that help is on the way.
911, what's your emergency? There's shooting going on in Columbine High School. Okay, we've got people over there. Everybody needs to stay inside. Okay. Goodbye.
Dozens of students are being rescued by the SWAT teams from their hiding places in the school. The sheriff's report went to great lengths to underscore the communications problems they were having at the scene and the confusion generated by scores of calls coming into 911 with conflicting information. Still, the report concedes that while they were getting information about where the wounded were in the school, that information was not being relayed to the SWAT teams operating inside. At 2:38, a SWAT team reached student Patrick Ireland, who they saw trying to crawl out a window. By 2:42, SWAT teams locate teacher Dave Sanders, who is dying. Because the medics are at the opposite end of the building, they don't reach him for some time. When they do, they determine he's dead. Today, a Sanders family lawyer responded.
That delay cost Mr. Sanders his life. Our expert will tell you, our medical expert will tell you, that even more than 3 hours after Mr. Sanders was shot, his wounds were eminently treatable and survivable.
At 3:30, SWAT teams enter the library. 10 students and the 2 gunmen are all dead. Parents of a student who survived the shooting were outraged that the police took so long and sent so few officers into the building.
You have emotionally traumatized children in our community. Doesn't anybody care about them? They sat in the school for 3 hours writing goodbyes to their parents. Nobody was saving them. They saved themselves.
And the Browns complained that a year before the Columbine shootings, they say they supplied police with 24 pages from Eric Harris's website detailing threats to kill students and set off bombs.
13 months, they did not respond to death threats and 3 felony complaints against Eric Harris. That's why Columbine happened.
According to the sheriff's report, investigators didn't even tell Eric Harris's own parents about the alleged death threats he made, and a prosecutor who reviewed the case told the sheriff that there was not enough evidence to bring a criminal charge. In Denver for Nightline, I'm John Miller.
Later, an extraordinary glimpse into the lives of the Columbine killers from 2 of their close friends. But when we come back, the father of a student wounded at Columbine responds to today's police report.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
Can't get to the post office. Now the post office is wherever you are.
Talk to your doctor today or visit Prozac.com. Welcome back.
Greetings, television viewers. Bob's taking a break from his spokesperson role, so freeinternet.com has asked that I fill in. Have a wonderful day. How was that?
Oh, boy.
Tomorrow, digitizing scents and aromas and sending them over the internet. The smell of things to come. Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Come on. This is where we keep all the minutes. Business calls, personal calls. Calls from girlfriends, calls from boyfriends, nights, weekends, good news, bad news. Yeah, no, we don't like to sell those. And that's the stockroom.
How do you keep track of it all?
I don't. You do.
Now our minutes come with nationwide long distance at no charge. We also feature Ericsson digital phones, all at your local Bell South Mobility store.
Just wait till you see the warehouse.
One of the greatest joys of growing up is discovering that dreams can come true. The John Deere LT-133, only $19.99, and built John Deere solid, with more than 160 years of relentless craftsmanship and innovative engineering. It's the John Deere you've always dreamed of, at a price that's as practical as the man who buys one. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Among nearly 24 students wounded at Columbine was Evan Todd, a school athlete. He was the last person discovered in the library by Harrison Klebold that horrible day. Guns pointed at him. Todd's life was spared after Harrison Klebold decided to move on to the cafeteria. His father, Dale Todd, briefly served as a Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy. He is now suing the department he once served and joins us from our Denver bureau. Now, Mr. Todd, you heard John Miller's brief assessment of this very long report. What are your impressions of it? Do you think that it's reasonably fair? Do you think it's a pretty impartial representation of what happened that day?
I think in many aspects it is reasonably fair, it is reasonably detailed, and reasonably accurate for a general description of the events that day and some of the events that led up to it and some of the post events.
Now, the picture it presents is one of extreme chaos. There was a lot of noise. It says that the first responders had no idea how many shooters there were. They were getting a lot of conflicting information. They thought there could be as many as 8 people shooting, and they didn't know what their motivations were. Given all of that, do you really think there's any more that law enforcement could have done in that situation to save lives and rescue people sooner?
Yes, I do, and that's my contention. As one of the family members of a wounded child, we're very grateful that all the police through all the jurisdictions showed up. But the first responders, the first 4 deputies on the scene, they had enough information to understand what was being motivated by their actions. They had dead bodies, they had wounded children, they had blood outside the school. The knowns were greater than the unknowns.
What choices did they have that they didn't that they didn't use? What were their options that they didn't pursue? And draw up, if you would, upon your own experience as a law enforcement officer, even though I know it was brief and it was a while ago.
Well, my concerns and how I'm looking at this is through the eyes of a father, not I had 14 years experience in Jefferson County, most of it with the Treasurer's Office, but my concerns are as a father. The officers were engaging properly the gunman outside the school, and they were in a gunfight. They were trying to kill him. Their actions inadvertently pushed the 2 killers inside the school. The firefight then became a unilateral firefight on innocent children, teachers, and staff. And this sent a terrible message to the students, not only of Columbine, but throughout the nation, the students, teachers, and staffs, and every citizen throughout this nation, that their life is not worth very much.
Were the failures that day, in your opinion, failures of training or failures of courage?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have enough information. It appears that the discovery process will be the only way to get the detailed information of why they did not continue their offensive engagement. There's a reason why police officers in this nation wear uniforms. Part of the reason they wear uniforms is to draw the attention of the criminal away from the innocent civilian or citizen and onto themselves. That's why they're provided bulletproof vests. That's one of the reasons they're provided firearms, and they're provided training in how to use those. That's one of the very serious jobs of law enforcement.
What are you hoping to accomplish with this lawsuit, Mr. Todd, if I may?
Well, there's 2 reasons basically why I'm suing it. One, it sent a terrible message to the youth of this nation that they're not valued. Their life's not as important as it is as a law enforcement officer. And I think that shadows a lot of good police throughout this nation and this community. To give you an example, a couple weeks after the incident, I was at the Southwest Plaza with my son and two of his friends, and they walked by a fire truck and they said, "There's a new use for that." And I said, "What's that?" And they said, "That's what police hide behind while we get slaughtered and murdered."
That's sad.
And that went right through me. The second purpose accomplishment that I want to succeed with is the Sheriff's Department is writing a manual for school rescues, and that manual is going to be used nationwide. And I don't want some other police chief or another sheriff in another part of this country to say, "I did just what Jefferson County did, don't blame me." It's in the manual. Good businesses, they want feedback from their customers of the products or services that they provide them. And I think it's important that as a family that received a service from the sheriff that day, that we provided feedback and a chapter to that manual.
Mr. Todd, we're down to our very last few seconds, so if I may just ask you briefly, how is your son doing?
His physical wounds have all healed. They're just scarred, and he's moving on. It's a terrible experience for him and all his fellow classmates and his friends that survived.
Mr. Todd, thank you so much for coming in.
You bet.
And in a moment, a remarkable insight into the lives of the Columbine killers from two of their close friends.
To see inside the human heart, a doctor once needed a scalpel. But with ultrasound systems from Agilent Technologies, doctors can now spot problems that once went undetected. And sometimes even fix them without surgery. To see inside the human heart is to sometimes see relief.
Thank heavens for turbos. Introducing the all-new Volvo V70 T5, the next generation family car.
In the future, managers' lives will be simpler with online group profiles. Employees will order their own office products and management will approve them with the touch of a button, keeping the office fully stocked. With Staples.com, the future is now.
Hey, Frank, did you approve my order?
Yeah, all taken care of.
He's a little odd, but he's a whiz with supplies. Shop Staples.com and save $15 on your next order of $100 or more.
That new boss is from another planet.
Totally spaced out at that meeting.
Hey, what's that on your desk?
ABCnews.com. Ready when you are.
If I go to HG Hills, I win a set of wheels. I register to win and watch News 2 at 10. That's easy. So that's eggs, milk, butter, car.
Now through May 24th, you can register to win a new Saturn LS1 at any area HG Hills store or participating Saturn retailer. Each night, just watch News 2 at 10. If your name is drawn, you can win a new car.
So I go to HG Hills to win a set of wheels. I register to win and watch News 2 at 10. Easy. So that's bread, apples, rice, and car.
In Seattle, there's water everywhere, so it's no surprise that people here build really good boats. Just stop by the Center for Wooden Boats and see for yourself. It's a local tradition, one marked by beauty and excellence. And just a few miles away, you'll discover the La Quinta tradition of style, with rooms more generous than you imagined, and more amenities than you really expected. That's at every La Quinta, every time. So when you're in Seattle, explore the Center for Wooden Boats, and then drop anchor at La Quinta.
In today's Columbine report, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office concludes, quote, Harris and Klebold seem to have lived two lives. Their friends and family described them as normal teenage boys. Others described them as outcasts. But they left behind evidence of a much darker and sinister side. This darker side was an aspect they apparently shared only with each other. Not exactly so, as we learned from two of Harris and Klebold's close friends who talked exclusively with ABC News.
When I look back at it now, there's quite a few things I could have picked up and said, if I had put them all together, I probably could have figured out they were going to do something. I mean, the fact that they liked explosives, the fact that they liked guns, the fact that they had a lot of hatred towards people in the school.
Chris Morris probably spent as much time with the two killers, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, as anyone else in that last year of their lives.
It's so hard to even think about everything that's happened, because these were two people I thought I knew that I actually seem to know nothing about, and it's hard for me to understand even.
Now Chris sees everything in that final year differently, starting with a visit the year before the shooting to this seasonal fireworks stand. Chris, Eric, Dylan, and another friend, Corey Friesen, who graduated from Columbine 2 years earlier, helped close down the stand. In return for their work, they got fireworks.
It was a lot of fireworks. I think Eric and Dylan took about 8, maybe 10 of those boxes, and so they had a large amount of fireworks.
You know, and when we got as many as we did, they were like just ecstatic that, you know, we'd walked out of there with so many like huge boxes just full of fireworks.
Later that summer, Eric and Dylan began taking trips to the mountains. They began extracting the gunpowder from the fireworks to make pipe bombs.
I had heard Eric and Dylan talking about them taking one of them up to the mountains and blowing it up. And they said that they had left a crater in the ground that was around 4 feet deep and around like 8 feet wide almost.
Eric, Dylan, and Chris were working at this blackjack pizza shop. One day, Dylan came to work boasting.
Well, Dylan brought in what I believe to be a pipe bomb. And it was about, I believe it was about this long. It was more than a foot, I think. And it was about this thick around. It was very, very large. It had a fuse that laced down the side of it. And me and the owner told him to get it the hell out of the store. We wanted nothing to do with that. That was the only time I had actually seen one of the pipe bombs.
As their senior year began, Eric and Dylan complained more about the jocks and the culture at Columbine. Corey remembers Eric threatening to blow up the school.
You could just see it in his eyes. He'd just get a cold glare in his eyes and say, one of these days, I swear I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it's like, come on, you know, lighten up a little bit.
I think Dylan on one occasion did say, wouldn't it be kind of fun to sit on the soccer field and shoot at the school? And, like, shooting out all the windows would be kind of fun. And, you know, everybody at the table there, you know, they kind of laughed a little. We thought he was all joking.
Chris and Corey say they know these statements sound horrible in the aftermath of the killings, but at the time, they didn't think of telling their parents, let alone the police. To them, it was just Eric and Dylan's twisted humor.
Here you are, my good friend Dylan, almost halfway to school. What's up?
How is it that their parents did not know? Chris says the little Eric and Dylan revealed to their friends they expertly hid from their parents.
Ready to torpedoes, Mr.
I mean, Eric must have done a very good job of hiding his things, though, because his parents did search his room occasionally.
In fact, Chris and Corey say Eric told them his father did find a pipe bomb.
And Eric's like, yeah, did you hear? My dad found a pipe bomb. I'm like, oh, man, that's got to suck. I was like, you know, and I figured, you know, he was going to be in, like, some really big trouble.
All his punishment was to go up to the mountains with his dad and blow it up.
But to this day, the Harrises have not commented on any of the events related to Columbine. Several months prior to the shooting, there was something more Eric couldn't hide: his ever-changing moods.
I would say he actually did change over the year before the Columbine incident.
When he'd hit some mood swings, he'd really get, you know, just that intense glare in his eyes.
Apparently, his parents noticed too, and he was prescribed an antidepressant.
And towards the end, I had been told that he actually stopped taking his medication. And sometimes it was almost frightening to see one minute how he was a very nice, happy, normal guy, and the next minute he was very, very angry, almost sinister at times.
But only a week before the incident, nothing seemed to be bothering the two. In fact, Chris says, Dylan was very excited about going to college, and Eric also had plans.
I remember Eric talking about the future. I remember Eric talking about him he wanted to go to school, and he wanted to get some degrees in computers, and he wanted to work on computers and make games for a living.
On April 20th, 1999, the day of the killings at Columbine, Chris finished his classes early and headed to Corey's house.
Good evening, everyone. The reaction of so many people today was, oh no, not again. Another high school, Columbine High in Littleton, Colorado.
Eyewitnesses say the two gunmen wearing black trench coats and black masks came in shooting and began working their way through the school.
Me and Corey both started to get very angry because they said the people in the school doing it were wearing trench coats. And at that point in time, the only people who still wore trench coats in that school were Eric and Dylan. Everybody else stopped wearing them. And right away, I just had a feeling that it was them.
They just started coming in the library and opening fire and shooting off bombs.
Chris says he desperately tried to reach the police to offer his help. He thought if he could talk to Eric and Dylan, maybe he could stop them. But instead, the police picked him up and treated him like a suspect.
They put me in handcuffs, put me in the back of a car, took me down to the park where they had everything set up, and they did a gunpowder test on me and some other tests on my skin to make sure that I didn't have any powders or residues on me.
Were you in the building?
Several law enforcement agencies questioned him throughout the next few weeks. Among the many questions, why wasn't he at school at the time of the shooting?
The police found it very interesting that I had skipped my 4th-hour class that day. They thought it was a very large deal, but if they had looked at my attendance record, they would have seen, oh wait, he skipped this class for the last month.
The police weren't the only ones suspicious. Chris says he was discouraged from returning to school, kicked out of his home by his mother, and fired from his job.
I blame Eric and Dylan. I blame them for what happened. Nobody else is at fault for what happened but them. And I truthfully wish they had been caught. I wish they hadn't have killed themselves. I wish they had been caught. And I wish that they had been able to go to jail for the rest of their lives for what they did.
They were just two troubled kids who just couldn't find any other way to, deal with everything that was going on.
And the question which haunts a broken community torments the killer's closest friend.
Why they did it? I wish I knew the answer to the question of why they did it. I still to this day wonder why they did it. And I'll never get that answer.
In their final home video made the day they launched their massacre at Columbine High, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold speak directly to Chris Morris and another close friend. Quote, "If you survive, you can have our computers. That's it. Sorry. Goodbye." I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, so I'm not on the new golden dollar coin. That's cool with me. I've got places to go and I've got people to meet. Anyway, the new coin is perfectly all right without me. In fact, I use it everywhere. Thanks. It's so money.
Introducing the new golden dollar. It's changing the face of money.
Besides, I still look good on paper.
They're young, and some just think that way. The people and companies that were born digital, or reborn, as comfortable with data as the last generation was with the telephone, as long as they have the right set of tools and the right company behind them. WorldCom, Generation D.
ABC Tuesday, on an all-new Blue. Someone from the past comes back to haunt Diane.
I know I saw that Harry Denby.
The narcotics task force guy. And what he's into now.
Why'd you call me?
That's a sudden urge. I don't do good resisting those.
Is worse than anyone can imagine.
Hurt anyone I care about, and I'll kill you. Look in my eyes, see if I'm kidding.
All new NYPD Blue. ABC Tuesday at 10/9 Central. Viewer discretion advised.
Right now, American Tire and Jennings Tire invite you to come on in for our spring truckload tire sale. More than 1,000 tires at the lowest prices of the year. Custom wheels on sale. Register to win a set of 4 Goodyear tires. Come on in, but hurry. This sale only lasts 10 days. And service, see us for whatever auto care you need.
Come see us now at American Tire for great tire values and Gemini Auto Care.
We are not happy about this.
You go, girl.
We weren't happy about baking all day either.
But it was ours.
Stovetop oven classics.
A one-dish oven baked chicken dinner.
Sauce, seasoned stuffing.
All you add is chicken.
5 minutes to make.
30 to bake.
A Sunday taste.
Tuesday effort.
Dagnabbit, what's next? Thanksgiving in a box?
Stovetop oven classics. Sunday taste, Tuesday effort.
We need a martini.
If you would like to read the complete sheriff's report on the Columbine killings, click onto our website, abcnews.com. And there will be more analysis of the report tomorrow on Good Morning America. That's our report for tonight. I'm Michelle McQueen in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
You can order a transcript or video cassette of this or any other Nightline broadcast by dialing 1-800-CALL-ABC or visiting abcnewsstore.com on the World Wide Web.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday on the season finale of Sports Night, the love of Dan's life returns.
Hey, Danny. Did you get my flowers?
But that's just the first of many surprises.
We've been sold.
This is it? You can do it without me.
Plus an ending so shocking, we saved it for the season finale.
I don't know what to say.
An all-new sports night, Tuesday on ABC.
Start your mornings with Victoria Hansen, only on News 2. Now, News 2 at 10. First, fast, accurate.
Imagine how you'd feel if a blast came out of the blue and did this to your home.
It's a bad feeling, isn't it? And tonight, it's a bad reality for some people in Rutherford County. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to News 2 at 10. We start with breaking news to tell you about.
Some blasting in Rutherford County has apparently gotten out of hand and damaged several homes. Let's go straight to News 2's Dan McDonald for the story. And Dan, what happened?